Souls-like, check. A lot of movement, check. Rolling to dodge, not check. Maybe add dodging and make the enemies harder. Maybe add dodging. I recommend you use dodging and check. Okay, I messed up. But don't worry, we're gonna fix it today. It's time for another devlog. So last time we added movement mechanics, a sword, and this piece of shit. Today we're gonna be adding more mechanics, new enemies, and yeah. So in the comments of the last video, a lot of you wanted me to add dodging or dashing to the game. I mean, for example, take Durbo, who says dodge, roll, please. Thank you, Durbo. I'll keep that one in mind. Anyways, it definitely makes sense to have some sort of a dodging mechanic in a Souls-like. So I implemented dashing. Now you can dash in any direction to avoid enemy attacks. Hey, you know you haven't even implemented enemy attacks yet, right? Who the fuck are you? Now don't you ever fucking interrupt me again, bitch. He's kinda right though. The enemies can't even attack us right now, so let's work on setting up an attack for the enemy we added in the last episode. So here's what I had in mind. The enemy would have a short to mid-range attack where he locks onto the player and shoots a punch in the player's direction. The player gets hit by the punch and the hands are retracted back into their original position. Now those of you that saw the previous devlog know that this here is a fucking degenerate that tried to do some really weird stuff with me last time.
So whoa, no, get off me, you weirdo. What the fuck, man? I've just made a horny degenerate robot.
And oh boy, it definitely didn't get better this time, because when I tried to give him an attack, is that your mating dance? What the fuck? Anyways, I completed the implementation, and although it sounded really cool in my head, once I implemented it, let's just say it wasn't as impressive as it seemed.
NANI?
At this point, I had already spent a lot of time trying to set up this attack properly, and I was just burnt out from working on the same features, so I decided to switch things up and started working on making new enemy models. Now I wanted to make two new enemies. One would be a long range mech that can shoot lasers out of its eye thing, and the other one would be a small robot that can also shoot lasers out of its eye thing, but this one would be mid-range. So I started working on the modeling, and the first one was quite easy to model because I don't know if you know, but I'm like a pro at 3D modeling. This type of stuff is like a piece of cake for an absolute professional like me. Hey, isn't that just the first mech in red and with some minor changes? I told you not to come back. Get the fuck out of here. Whoa, relax. The model turned out alright. It's like a slightly cooler version of the first mech. The second model was much different than the other two though. It was mainly inspired by these RoboWar/BattleBot robots that I came across, and I think it turned out pretty cool. Now back to implementing the attack for the first enemy. After brainstorming new attacks for him, I finally decided to give him a short-range shotgun attack. Now the enemy can finally attack us, but there's still a slight problem. The player doesn't have any health, so while the enemy can technically attack us, he still cannot harm us. So I implemented a health system for the player as well, and now the enemy attacks actually harm the player. At this point, I also realized there was a bug with the enemy ragdolls. After the enemies were killed, they would stay in the animation pose they were in before dying. And because of this, they would become very stiff, which is definitely not what we want. We want the big old bouncy physics. So I fixed the bug, and now the ragdolls for the enemies are much more satisfying.
Oh yeah, look at that big old bouncy rounds.
Alright, next up, let's work on some mechanics. So last time I added this mechanic where you can push an enemy to activate its ragdolls and make it lose balance. But there's a problem with this mechanic at the moment. You see, the way it is set up makes it so that the ragdolls for the enemy are activated whenever the player touches the enemy. Which does not make a lot of sense, cause I don't know about you guys, but the last time I checked, simply touching someone does not put them off balance. So let's change that and make it so that the enemy only loses balance when he's pushed with a large enough force. Along with this, I refined the grappling mechanic as well, and with these changes, the movement feels much more fluid. I also added some new mechanics like this head jump, which was inspired by the Sekiro head jump. Now you can jump on the heads of enemies to make them lose balance as well, and it's pretty fun to get some kills this way. Another new mechanic I added is the ability to jump high up after killing an enemy. The player can press the jump button while performing a mid-air kill to gain a lot of height. This allows the player to chain multiple attacks and also provides more movement options. Wait, did you see that?
Wait.
What the hell?
Well, that's not really supposed to happen. So I fixed it and now everything seems to work correctly. The last movement mechanic I wanted to add was vaulting, and I wanted to add this in so that the player can keep his momentum and not get stuck on the edges of walls. The implementation should be pretty simple. You just check for an edge using raycast and push the player a little bit up and a little bit forward when the jump button is pressed. So I wrote code to handle all of that. Let's test it out. After a bit of tweaking, I got it working, and now with all these changes combined, we have a much more refined system with a lot more movement options than before. Alright, now that we're finally done with the movement mechanics, it's time to set up the enemies we made earlier. So first, let's work on the long range mech. I added the model into the game, set up a ragdoll for it, and then I set up each limb individually to follow the animations. And I mean, I'm kind of a pro at setting up active ragdolls now, so there's literally nothing that could possibly go wrong. Okay, that was just a coincidence, alright, and I fixed it quickly. But the rest of the setup should be smooth sailing and there's nothing that should go. Anyways, it took a little bit more time than I expected to get everything set up, but in the end I got it done, and now we have a fully functioning new enemy in the game. Now even though the enemy is set up, we still have to give him a new attack. And you may be wondering what type of attack I'm gonna give him. Well, you obviously don't fucking listen, do you? One would be a long range mech that can shoot lasers out of its eye thing. So I gave him the pew pew fucking killer laser attack. Laser not looking very cool. Fucking particles before laser attack. And just like that, our long range mech enemy has been completely set up. Now it's time to add the small robot enemy in and set him up. And surely I couldn't mess up this time, right? I mean, it's the third time I'm setting up enemies now and there should be absolutely no problem whatsoever. This time I messed up so bad, I had to go and remodel the enemy. Well, anyway, once I fixed the model, the rest of the setup wasn't that difficult. For the attack, I gave him lasers as well. I want to add more variants for this type of enemy, like one with rocket launchers and one with guns, but that's for the future. For now, we have 3 enemies set up with attacks, so that's good progress, I think. Hey, look, what an adorable little guy. Hey there, you little wibbly wobbly cutie patootie. Now currently, a problem with the game is that the player's attack is too boring, cause it's the same animation repeating over and over again. I want to change that by adding at least 3 different animations and making the transitions between them flow naturally. So I got to work and made 3 different states for the player's attack. I also added a small pause in between the states so that you feel badass getting killed. By the way, you know what else makes you feel like a badass? Subscribing to this channel and smashing that like button, of course. Alright, now the last thing I want to add is some sort of feedback. And as Snowball suggested, adding some sort of a screen effect with movement is a pretty good way to do it. So I added FOV changes with grappling and dodging, and I'm sure you can tell just by looking at the gameplay how much of a difference it actually made. It obviously still needs some improvement, but the game already feels much better than before. To wrap up, I added the new enemies into the map and tested out all the new features. I think the game is turning out really well and there's still a lot to do, but I'm having fun working on it and I still have a bunch of stuff planned for the game, so keep tuning in to see how it goes. Also, thank you guys for all your support on the last video. I really didn't think the video would get that many views, but you guys made it possible, so thank you for that. Anyways, take care and I'll catch you in the next one.